बस बोलते हैं ऐसा कि मिलेगा हर दिन बोलते हैं। अबे 2 क्लास समझो बाहर का एक्चुअली मेरे को दिमाग ही लगा है मैं भव्य ये रहता है ना उसको आने दे आज मैं उसको बात करेंगी ये दो भी मैंने ये किया कुछ किया नहीं सपना ना पाया मैं हंसा कैमरा में देखा तो साड़ी से लगे ऐसे ना तो साथ में बहुत तो भव्य भी ऐसा था अपनी कोशिश सबको थोड़ा अभिप्राय और हर्ष दोनों थोड़े तेरा प्रॉब्लम है तुम मेरे को तो क्योंकि ऑब्जेक्ट को बहुत साइड करते हैं अमीन ने तो कुछ किया भी खाली हंसने लगा पकड़ लो अमीन को तो बहुत थोड़ा करता है लिखा तो है क्या जाएगा देना चलिए बैठने लगी मेरी जा रहा है क्यों भाई तुझे सारा अरे कल अच्छे भाई मेरे को बस देगा कोई सब देगा सब 30-40 पुणे में नाच उसने हेड नोटिस किया था अरे तुम लोग कब लाइव मूवी कर अबे नहीं कल मैं जब आया उसका तो मेरे को ईशान लेके आता था बीच में मैं थर्सडे को लेके आता था मैं निकल जाता था बीच में चल गया था कल लोग बात लेके मैसेज आ गया कहां पे हमारी क्लास ग्रुप में मैसेज आ गया हमारे से भी आया वेंसडे को कल ये लोग मैसेज आ गया अच्छे लगे अब मैं रात को करूंगा तो अच्छे नहीं लगेंगे क्यों अभी जाके ही कर देना नहीं तो फ्रिज में रहेगा अब तो वरना क्या करने वाली पागल है फूल दूंगी मैं मेरी टोली वाली पागल ब्लोड है ऐसे फूल क्या करना अरे कौन सा ये कलर क्या है कल ब्लू हां भाई आज रेड है कल बराबर बोल बस कौन दिखा सकते हो वैसे सेम है पर आगे कौन है इधर मत अच्छा इसका फोन तो जॉब्स हो गया तू अरे मैं हूं स्कूल में हमारे नाम मैसेज भेजती नहीं है तो क्लास हटा रखा है अच्छा लगता है ना वो हमारी ग्रुप में मैसेज भेजते हैं उन्होंने मैसेज भेजा है हम हमारे जो जिस दिन मराठी का भी मैं उन्होंने भी आ रहा है क्लासेस में अबे मेरे क्लास में हुआ वो मैसेज नहीं आया वो ऑर्डर करना मेरे को आ गया मैंने स्कूल ब्लू मैंने भेजा ब्लू क्या होता है यार नहीं तो पहले ना आ जाता है अच्छा नहीं हमें कल शायद नहीं तो भी मैम को बोलना आज मिलने वाले थे फर्स्ट को आना था ये तो मैं स्कूल शादी में नेवर्स करती मेरे बारे में होते मुझे अच्छा क्या मेरा एक ही पेपर अच्छा क्या बाद में साइन करना फिर तो आगे कर वैसे तो अगर मैं आज तो कल सुबह अच्छी की रहेगी क्योंकि होता है ऐसा ऊपर से टाइम चलता है कि अभी जाते ही तो फिर रात तक सीधेगा तो रात को एक ही वाला मुझे पता क्या बात करते हो सुना भी क्या अभी मेरा फाइनल छुट्टी का अच्छा अभी ये स्कूल बैठ
Why? Screaming and yelling and yelling. You? We finished the chapter. How? No, what is it? Our environment we finished. Now, that chapter we had finished in a haste. Just see, is there anything that you want to clarify? That's easy, you know, you can manage. The last topic only I did not discuss with you, that is about waste segregation, waste disposal. Which one?
Garbage management, waste segregation. There were no questions.
In the paper you say? No, but that there might be later. But what I'm saying is you go through the chapter, go through that topic, waste segregation. And in case you have a doubt, in case certain things you don't understand, then we may discuss. Otherwise, there is nothing. 6 methods of waste disposal you should know. 3 R's you already know. No? Composting you already know. Vermicomposting you already know. Incineration is there. Then treatment is there. And separation, segregation is there. So 6 methods. Go through that part. That last part I did not discuss with you the other day. Go through that part, find out if it is okay. If you have a doubt, you clarify. Okay. So we had discussed that.
In the book it states that human beings occupy the top level in any food chain, but there are few animals that I guess do prey on humans. Right?
Not every time. No. Not on a regular basis. The tiger is not eating us every day, or on a regular basis. No, sometimes. But if you talk about the beetle is only and only feeding on the plant parts. The squirrel will only feed on the plant food. So that is a typical relationship. For human, we are always at the topmost level of the food chain, topmost trophic level.
I need to get my volume.
Always at the topmost trophic level, because there are no typical organisms which are constantly feeding on us. That's the reason. That is accidentally at times. That is different. So, can we have an oral? 5 minutes. Which chapter you are comfortable with? You tell me. Okay? Hard. 5 minutes. I want to find out how is it going, because we are now in the last chapter, heredity. Heredity. You want me to test you on our environment? That's waste of time. Reproduction, life process, life process. How good prepared you are in that chapter? No, let me also find out how much you all are studying. Comfortable with life process, how much you are more or less thorough with that chapter. That's a big chapter, so much to study in that chapter. Please take it seriously. 4 sections of the chapter you should know very well. And now as we revise also, you should be aware that what are some typical form of questions, what should I still go through, what I don't know. Let me just discuss few questions with you, just to understand that way how much you all are prepared. Done? So now we start with life process. Clear? Should I? Life process, okay? All of you must have studied at least once or twice, no? Life process. All the 4 parts. What is selective reabsorption? From that end, one. No, I want individual answers. What is selective reabsorption? Last bench. Will you be able to answer? What is selective reabsorption? Next. What is selective reabsorption?
After digestion, the small intestine absorbs.
No. What is selective reabsorption?
Reabsorption of water in the kidney tissue.
Only water? No, that is not what you are supposed to write.
Mainly water and also.
What is selective reabsorption?
Some reabsorption of some minerals, water.
हाँ तो कैसे लिखोगे? क्या लिखोगे? What is selective reabsorption? Shubham, what is selective reabsorption? याद नहीं है? Decide, girls. What is selective reabsorption?
The function of the nephron cell
Where does selective reabsorption take place?
in the nephron cell in the kidney. I think it absorbs the useful materials
I
like
think
potassium and salts from the filtrate back into the blood if it is left out from the bone section after the.
Next. What is the benefit? What is the benefit of selective reabsorption? Children, you should be very clear now. Almost we are moving towards the mid of October. You should be very clear now. What is selective reabsorption?
The absorption of essential substances that may be
Such as?
potassium and salt water.
No. Not potassium. What is selective reabsorption? Reabsorption of essential substances like water, sodium, glucose from the kidney tubules back to the blood to maintain the composition and volume of the blood. That is what is selective reabsorption. Which hormone is responsible for this?
Antidiuretic.
ADH. What is the role of, mention 2 functions of liver, 2 specific functions of liver. Parin, 2 functions of liver. One function, most important function of liver. What will you write? What is the most important function of liver? Secretes bile juice and what does the bile juice contain? How is it helpful in the process of digestion?
Bile juice helps in multiplication of fats.
Which component of bile juice?
Bile salts.
Bile salts helps in
It also makes the medium basic. No,
alkaline. Medium meaning the
Small intestine.
small intestine alkaline. So 2 functions I had asked you. What are the two functions of the liver? Releases bile juice, which makes the duodenum alkaline so that the process of digestion, all the three types can happen. And the bile salts, that function you'll have to know. Now, where is the bicuspid and the tricuspid valve located? Bicuspid and tricuspid valve, where are they located? View. Bicuspid.
Sorry, right auricle and then right auricle and right ventricle and the tricuspid.
Hmm? क्या heart क्या
Tricuspid,
bicuspid way
left ventricle and left atrium.
hmm.
And tricuspid, right ventricle and left atrium.
between right ventricle and right atrium. What is meant by double circulation?
Circulation is made by when at the same time deoxygenated blood is coming from the body to the heart, and at the same time the oxygenated blood is coming from lungs to the heart, and it's getting pumped in the whole body.
Better, bit better. What is double circulation? How will you define? 1 mark. What is double circulation?
Circulation of blood twice in the body to make sure that the blood gets oxygenated and circulated to the entire body. It goes twice through the heart.
Not clear, Ritika. Your answer is not clear. What is double circulation?
It is the circulation of blood.
In which?
It is the circulation of oxygenated blood to the rest of the body, and the oxygenated blood to the lungs, which then comes back to the heart to go to the rest of the body. So it's going through the heart twice.
You have to specify that it is the same amount of blood which is moving through the heart twice, using all the key terms, oxygenated, deoxygenated, all these terms. Next is mention the site and the function of chloroplast. Mention the site and function of chloroplast. Site of chloroplast, one location, and the function of chloroplast. Eight. What is the location of chloroplast? Mention one site in the plant where chloroplast is present. Like a ऐसा question आया, what would you write? Specific. Leaf cells. What is the site of chloroplast? Mention one site where chloroplast is present. क्या लिखना है? What did you say? वो cells का एक नाम है. क्या नाम है? Those photosynthetic cells. वो leaf cells जहाँ पे photosynthesis होता है. What are those cells known as? Cells of the leaf where chloroplast is maximally concentrated, जहाँ पे photosynthesis होता है. What are those cells known as?
Hearts.
Sorry, guards.
Heart का condition बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छा नहीं है तुम्हारा. यही चीज़ ऐसा है. Heart cells को गलती से guard cells.
वो थोड़ा same type
मुझे तुम लोगों पे गुस्सा आना चाहिए कि हंसी आना चाहिए, मुझे खुद को नहीं समझ में आ रहा. Three events to summarize the process of photosynthesis. What are the three events to summarize the process of photosynthesis?
Absorb the sunlight, which is necessary for the process of photosynthesis. Then the photolysis, the breakdown of the water part of the hydrogen and
produce.
Then,
And there's one more step to mention there. Activation of chlorophyll. Number 2 is absorption of chlorophyll is there, and after that, number 2 is
absorption of light energy.
conversion of light energy to chemical energy, and the breakdown of the water to give rise to oxygen, hydrogen. And what is the third step? Nay. What is the third step?
Reduction of carbon dioxide to carbon.
To form carbohydrate. One major difference between dark and light phase. Dark and light phase of photosynthesis. Did we study that? Dark phase, light phase. Please, अभी और 2 लेक्चर में हमारा स्टोरी खत्म होने वाला है. So now don't give me that expression. Dark phase and light phase, did we study? Huh? Tell me 2 differences, dark and light phase, that you know.
During lifetime, food is being produced.
Dark phase, where does the dark phase of photosynthesis happen?
Only inside the food is getting transformed.
Where does the dark phase of photosynthesis happen? Site of dark phase is stroma. Light phase, grana. And dark phase takes place when? Dark phase takes place all throughout the day, and light phase takes place. Did not you write all these things? I think I gave you those differences, dark and light phases. Padhoge kab? When? Name the enzyme from the pancreatic juice which digests partially digested proteins. Which enzyme from the pancreas digests partially digested proteins? Pancreas से gastric juice कैसे आएगा? Bacteria. My question is, which is that enzyme of the pancreatic juice which digests the partially digested proteins from the stomach? Which enzyme? Trypsin. Trypsin. What is the function of salivary amylase? Shubham, answer karo. What is the function of salivary amylase? What is the function of salivary amylase? Convert starch into nahi. Convert starch into maltose. Convert starch into maltose. Mention one difference between the artery and the vein.
Ma'am, artery takes the blood away from the heart, and veins take the blood from
Towards the heart. Second
except for
difference,
pulmonary artery and
pulmonary vein. Second difference. Most of it, just here 3 phases, 4 phases, same answer.
Veins carry deoxygenated blood except for pulmonary vein, and arteries carry oxygenated blood except for pulmonary vein.
arteries are thick-walled and veins are thin-walled.
तेरा जिनका हाल बोल दिया उसमें. और
Veins have valves and arteries do not.
okay, so these are something very important to study. What is the difference between ureter and urethra? Ureter, one difference between ureter and urethra.
Passage of urine and urethra stores urine.
Ureter carries the urine from the kidney to the bladder. Urethra releases the urine out from the bladder, out from the body. Functions to always remember like this. Then we had already studied the entire process of digestion. What are the steps of digestion of the proteins? What are the steps you should remember? How does the protein get digested and in which parts of the alimentary canal? How does the protein get digested? Will you be able to tell me? Where does the digestion of protein start? Where does the digestion of protein start? Where?
In stomach.
In the stomach with the help of and then convert into
Peptones.
and then trypsin with the help of trypsin to peptides and then with the help of intestinal enzymes to amino acids. What are two special features of the villi? No, I don't want to answer from this side. Open your mouth.
Some villi are present in the small intestine.
Small special features of the villi. I am asking you.
That's why my friend.
Special features of the villi.
They're filled with blood capillaries. And in order to increase
And
and they have large cells.
special features of the villi. How are the villi designed to carry out absorption? A typical question.
They're very porous. They have a lot of pores.
They're not porous. They have got a thin epithelium, one single layer thin epithelium and rich supply of blood vessels. Rich supply of blood vessels. Why are the lungs? Why are or what is the special feature of the alveolus again? Mention special features of the alveolus. What are the two special features of the alveolus you should remember? हाँ तो special features क्या है alveolus का वही same like the villus. The special features of alveolus extensively supplied with blood vessels and thin wall made up of one layer of epithelial cells. What is the difference between the functions of the pulmonary artery and the pulmonary vein with reference to respiration? What happened to your darling friend today? He is not talking. कुछ तो आंसर बोलो. Function of pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein.
Pulmonary arteries carry deoxygenated blood as well as the pulmonary veins carries oxygenated.
What is the function of the C-shaped cartilaginous rings? Where are the C-shaped cartilaginous rings present? Where? On the throat नहीं लिखोगे. Where are they present? On the outer surface of trachea. She is studying. आता है तुमको? Do you know that Vyom? You know that answer? Good. What is the significance? C-shaped cartilaginous rings prevent collapsing of the trachea. Collapsing of the trachea. What is the definition of respiration? Shubham, that much you should know. What is the definition of respiration? Definition of respiration तो बोलो. What is it? अगर समझ में आया है तो you should be knowing. What is the definition of respiration?
The
Process of process of breakdown of to release
Release carbon oxide, carbon dioxide and oxygen.
अरे respiration में कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड भी रिलीज हो रहा है ऑक्सीजन.
Carbon dioxide and
सुनो.
carbon dioxide to form pyruvate and
No. What is respiration? I asked you. What is respiration? The basic answer is breakdown of glucose to release carbon dioxide and energy. Now, when I talk about aerobic and anaerobic respiration, basic difference क्या है? Aerobic. What takes place? What takes place?
In the presence of
What takes place? हाँ तो respiration का मतलब क्या है? What takes place? It takes place in the presence of oxygen. Examiner इतना बड़ा सा सुंदर करके एक question mark देंगे वहाँ पे. हाँ तो respiration का मतलब क्या है? Breakdown of glucose takes place in the presence of oxygen. Breakdown of glucose takes place in the absence of oxygen. What is the primary product? Breakdown of glucose in absence of oxygen. When the glucose is getting broken down in the absence of oxygen, what is the primary product? Anaerobic respiration का primary product क्या है? Main product क्या है? Ethanol. Name one tissue in human body which shows anaerobic respiration. Muscular tissue. Skeletal muscles. Smooth muscles, if you write it is wrong. Skeletal muscles. Cardiac muscles, you write it is wrong. Skeletal muscles लिखना है. And what is the product formed at that time? Lactic acid. Read specific. Every topic when you read, you should know the equation, the definition, the example, the size, the function, etc., etc. इस तरह से पढ़ना है. Not satisfactory the way you all have answered. जागोगे कभी? Are you realizing it's already October कि कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है? फर्क पड़ रहा है. How many of your condition at home, the environment at home has changed, or it is the still the sweet, relaxed condition like before? It was never sweet. That's normal. So those of you are very relaxed, never mind, you may be very relaxed by your nature, but this is a time where you should really put in a little bit more of hard work. The answers, the question that I have asked you was very elementary. Basic things I have asked you. And you should have been able to answer almost all of them. Okay, one or two enzymes you are forgetting. I did not ask you any specific function, pH, nothing I have asked you. Just basic. Some one or two enzymes and function and definition and location. Please go through properly. And once you go through, पिछले दिन भी मैंने बोला था, एक दो दिन पहले I told you should be asking doubts. देखो the same situation. Nobody has a doubt because you all have not started studying seriously. Now we have to start with what? Heredity, right? We are supposed to start with heredity today. Heredity, huh? Environment is done. So now we talk about our environment was a very elementary chapter. You were there the other class? So you're there. Now when we are talking about heredity, let us discuss about this chapter. Heredity, what are we going to study in this chapter would be how we inherit how we inherit characteristics from the previous generation. What is the method? What is the specific structures involved in this? So when we are talking about the basic concept of heredity, here we are talking about two terms. One is known as heredity, and the other word is known as genetics. Now this concept you are studying for the first time. What are we understanding? If it is genetics, what does this mean? It is the branch of science which deals with the process of transfer of characteristics from one generation to the next. The process of transfer of characteristics from the parents to the offspring, the next generation. And that is what we are talking about as genetics. It's a branch of science. Then what is heredity? Heredity is the transfer, it's the method, it's the transfer of characteristics from one generation to the other. Are these two words the same that I just now spoke about? No. One is a entire method, or one is an entire method how the characteristics would pass on from one generation to the other. So I'm saying that what is heredity? Heredity is actually a process that we are learning. Then what is genetics? Genetics is a branch of science. Just like we talk about astronomy and then physiology or anatomy or etc. etc. So this is exactly a branch of science where we are only studying and dealing with how genes or characteristics pass on from one generation to the other. So we are talking about, this is actually a branch of science. It is a branch of study which only and only deals with how characteristics keep flowing from one generation to the other. How are we supposed to start with this chapter? Here we start with this chapter with a cell, and then the cell having the nucleus, and then the nucleus having fine thin thread-like structures known as the chromosomes. What are chromosomes? Chromosomes are condensed, extensively coiled, condensed thread-like structures. Where present? In the nucleus. Every cell has nucleus, yes, every cell will have nucleus. Whether you talk about developed organisms or you talk about the invertebrates, you talk about the insects, you talk about the bacteria, every organism will have the nucleus. Hereditary material is there in every organism. Only that the complexity of the hereditary material will differ. Okay, I talk about the chromosomes. This particular chromosome, now that I understand, it is extensively coiled. How would the chromosome be in our case? In our case, the chromosome is extensively coiled. And how do we draw the chromosome? We generally draw the chromosome actually this way, where it is understood that the chromosome, the entire long, thin, thread-like structure, which is some few meters in length, every single chromosome actually is some few meters in length. And this long thread-like structure coils up so compactly that it fits in the nucleus, where the diameter of the nucleus is much lesser than 1 millimeter. The unit is nanometer. You can understand it's much, much lesser than a millimeter. And I'm talking about fitting in a thread of almost 2 meters. A thread of almost 2 meters fits in, and that's not only one thread. We have got so many such threads inside our nucleus. We have got 46 such type of threads inside our nucleus fitting in, where the space of the nucleus is not 5, 6, 10 meters, but the space is lesser, much lesser than 1 millimeter. So from this concept, you can very much understand how much must be the packing and the condensation and the coiling. So this is one that we are talking about. What is there inside the nucleus? We have got the chromosomes. Looking into the internal structure of the chromosome now, the chromosome is supposed to have some extensively coiled. Now, I am talking about the internal structure of the chromosome, meaning if I try to see this part in detail, I want to see a small portion of the chromosome in detail, then what do I get to see? I get to see that there is a helical structure almost in the shape of a ribbon, and this particular structure that we are talking about, this is what is known as the DNA. So can I say that the chromosomes are made up of DNA? Yes. What is the chemical composition of the chromosome? You should know. What is the chemical composition of the chromosome? DNA. And what is the full form of DNA? Anybody aware? What is the full form of DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid. What is it? It is deoxyribonucleic acid. And this DNA that we are talking about, deoxyribonucleic acid, this DNA that we are talking about, this DNA carries a whole lot of information regarding what should be the characteristic, the pigment, the enzyme, the hormone, etc. of that organism. So I would say that this entire DNA that we are talking about, we can divide the entire DNA into some segments. We can divide the entire DNA into some segments, and every specific segment is responsible for one particular character. When I say character in the concept now, generally when I talk about character, what is the basic concept of character? When simple English we talk about what is the meaning of character, we generally talk about the behavior of an organism. It's not of an individual. In the concept of biology, character is not that. Character here means if I talk about the curly texture of the hair, that's a character. The blue color of the eye, that's a character. So any typical feature of the body parts, the pigments, the enzyme, the hormone, everything is a character in the concept of biology. So I would understand that the entire DNA would have a whole lot of such type of segments, and every specific segment, what do we call this segment as? This segment will be known as a gene. Every specific segment is known as a gene, and what will this gene be responsible for? Every specific gene is responsible for a character. Every specific gene is responsible for a character. Then how should you define the word gene? Write out the definition. What is a gene? That's a typical definition, a basic concept. Definitely you should always remember. Next class when I ask you what is gene, you should be able to answer. What is gene? The functional segment of the DNA. What is gene? Functional segment of the DNA. Functional segment of the DNA that carries information. Functional segment of DNA that carries information. That carries information for formation of a specific type of a protein, formation of a specific type of a protein, and expression of a character. And expression of a character. I repeat, what is a gene? Functional segment of DNA. Functional segment of DNA that encodes or that carries information, that's the other word for encodes, carries information for the formation of different type of proteins and regulate a character. Understood? So now we are going to understand in the concept of genetics that what is this gene made up of? Hundreds of such type of segments. Every segment has the information stored in it to produce one type of a protein. Protein A, protein B, protein C, etc. And depending on what type of a protein, a chemical substance, why are we using that word protein? Then is there anything known as a fat or a carbohydrate here? No, actually majority of the molecules produced by the DNA are all proteins. So not to understand this way that the DNA is producing carbohydrates also and fats also, definitely. But why are we specifically talking about the word protein? Because the DNA makes protein threads. The DNA carries information for the formation of the protein thread. So that's why. So now right at this moment, just try understanding what is the DNA made up of? Thousands of segments. What are these segments known as? Genes. What are these genes doing? Regulating a specific character. Now, when I talk about that genes are regulating a specific character, can we talk about an example of a character? Let me talk about an example of a character. Some very simple examples I pick up. I would talk about, let's talk about eye color as a character. Other than eye color, what can be the other characters? I may talk about texture of the hair. Texture of the hair. Then the skin tone, the shape of the nose, the amount of the hemoglobin, the amount of the pepsin, special body types, yes, the shape of the earlobe, the shape of your eyebrows, the hairline, these are also characters. Whether you like a specific type of a color, you don't like a specific type of a food, that's a character. When we are talking about the different type of strong dislikes and likes that we have, that's a character. The adequate
Perception of taste.
that is what I talked about just now. Perception of taste, meaning you may like one particular type of a taste where you come across that the other person may not. So that is what is a character. So in the concept, here we are trying understanding that genes regulate character. And now which character I talk about? There are so many characters to talk about. Let us just talk about one, that is the eye color. So one gene is regulating the eye color. So there will be so many other genes. One will be regulating the height. The other will be regulating the shape of the eye, the shape of the ear, the length of the bones, and etc. etc. So every specific gene for one specific character, just like the lock and the key. Only one specific gene and one specific character. But now that I talk about the eye color, is the eye color in human only the same all over? No. So this eye color, what are the different forms of eye color? The different forms of eye color, if I talk about, eye color can be brown, eye color can be black, and eye color can be blue. So these are the normal eye colors. So if I'm talking about the normal eye colors, what are the normal eye colors? Most prominent, most dominant is, or prevalently found is brown. Most commonly found brown, and then followed by black, and then followed by blue. So now if I'm saying that this character can be in different forms, the character can be in different forms, then what are the different forms of the character known as? The different forms of the character are known as traits. What are traits? Different forms of the character. But this character eye color has 3 different traits. So is it not understood that this gene also must be present in 3 different forms? Because 3 different forms of the character. So what are the different forms of the genes? They are known as, the different forms of the genes are known as alleles. So right now I'm talking about only a single pair of terms. What are those single pair of terms I'm talking about? I'm talking about gene and alleles. That's one of the most important terms, a pair. What is the second pair? Character and traits. What is the first pair I'm talking about? Gene and alleles. Then what are these? Genes are segments of the DNA that regulate a character. And what are alleles? Write down the definition, very important. What are alleles? Alternative form of a gene. Alternative form of a gene. What are alleles? Alternative form of a gene. Got that? And now, character. What are characters? Any type of a feature, any type of a physiological condition that we cannot see inside the hormone and the enzyme and the hemoglobin we cannot see, and the behavioral features that we can understand individual to individual, all are characters. Then what is the definition of the word traits? The variable forms of a character are traits. The variable forms of a character, that is known as traits. So when I talk about the character, generally the word character can be defined this way. It is the form and the function and the behavior of an organism. Form, function and behavior of an organism. Form, function meaning the shape of the eye and the shape of the finger and the shape of the earlobe, etc. That is called form. Function, the amount of the hemoglobin and the pepsin, etc. secretion, melanin, etc. etc. And behavior, just now as I told you, that the strong likes and dislikes that we have. Some may not like traveling, some may love traveling so much, some may like reading, some may not like reading absolutely. So remember, this is all because of our genes that we carry. Take a break. After the break again, we will continue with this. There are another 5 more pair of terms that you have to be very carefully, you should be understanding, and you should be thorough first, and then we'll have to understand the laws. We'll continue after the break.